Welcome back to Ask a Professor. My name is John Ellerbach, and I'll be filling in for Josh this week. We have two new guests joining me today. Let's start with Jillian Carr.
Thanks. I'm excited to be joining you guys. My name is Jillian Carr, as you said, and I'm an assistant professor in the Department of Economics in the Krannert School of Management. I'm just starting my third year here, and before that, I was doing my PhD at Texas A&M University, also in economics. Here at Purdue, I teach public economics, which is the study of taxes and government programs, and I happen to also be the faculty advisor for the Purdue Economics Association, which is the undergraduate econ club.
Thank you. Let's go to Dan Kelly.
Again, thanks for having me. I'm Dan Kelly. I'm in the philosophy department. My research is on moral psychology and the evolution of morality. Some of the classes I teach here at Purdue are a big introduction to philosophy course and a philosophy of mind course where we ask all kinds of questions like, what does it mean to have a mind, and can computers ever be conscious, and is your phone part of your actual memory, and stuff like that. Yeah, I've been here at Purdue for, I think, 11 years now. I came from Rutgers, where I got my PhD, and I'm the director of our grad program.
Thank you. Let's jump into that first question.
If you had to kill one innocent person to save a dozen people, would you do it?
If you had to kill one innocent person to save a dozen, would you do it? Jillian, we have to start with you, because tell us what is innocent, and then we'll know what to do.
Well, I guess I'm not sure if The Economist is the right one to answer that question. We don't deal in morality too much usually. But I think I would say yes in general to the question. But that is a very challenging question.
Whoa.
I mean, I say that now, but in the moment, I don't know if I could actually execute on that, literally and figuratively, I guess.
Whoa.
Yeah. But I think it's a calculation that I would understand making that conclusion, but I also don't know if I have it in me to do it myself. As far as what innocent means, I think that's very subjective.
Okay. Well, fortunately, we have a philosopher here to tell us what innocent means. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I have no idea what innocent means in general, but I mean, I think we can point to sort of clear stereotypes on each side of the pole. So, you know, someone who's serving a life sentence for grisly murder versus a 5-year-old kid who hasn't done anything. Okay, so set that question aside. So this sort of question is it's one of the most philosophical memes on the internet. So if people are familiar with trolley problems, this is a thought experiment that a philosopher posed a couple decades ago about whether or not you would flip a switch to save 5 people from being killed by a runaway trolley, but thereby if you diverted the train and it would kill 1 person. So even on that where it's the actuarial point of view is 5 versus 1, I would flip the switch. So if it's 12 versus 1, I would definitely kill the 1 person to save the 12. And I think that you should. I think morality dictates that you should.
Well, suppose the switch you flip only kills you.
Yeah, so morality is supposed to be a perspective from eternity where you abstract away from this sort of stuff like identity. And
so you going down for the greater good there, Dan? Come on.
Morality dictates that I should say yes.
Yes. Okay.
Whether or not I would do it, I also have these, I would like to think that if the situation presented itself, I would do the right thing, but man, that's a tough right thing.
It really is. Fortunately, economists deal in black and white, so obviously you would sacrifice yourself for the greater good.
Again, I like to hope I would. Obviously, I like to hope that I'd be able to do that. But in fact, I think that might actually be easier than it being another person either I don't know or someone that I care about, I think.
Well,
you wouldn't have to live with the guilt.
That's good.
True. That's a huge part of my calculus there.
Or if you live in eternity, you'd probably get some rewards for being selfless.
That's true.
Well, all right, I think we pretty much answered that. Go by what these folks say, and you'll be fine.
It starts with the belief that we can do more. Go beyond our borders, the world, and reach even the moon. We believe that delivering a world-class education and delivering value mean the exact same thing. It's pure gold. After all, where'd you think our colors came from?
Touchdown, Oilers. That allows Bentley to just make a play in the backfield.
Welcome back to Ask a Professor. Now, how about that next question?
Do you think world peace can be achieved?
Whoa. Well, we have a philosopher and an economist here. I can tell you from the perspective of a PR guy, of course it can. Just get out there and be nice to people. What do you think?
My outlook on the prospects for world peace has gotten dimmer in recent years, but history moves in tides, so maybe this is all just fits and starts, and the long arc of history is bending towards justice and peace. I'm worried about finite resources, so maybe world peace can be achieved if someone just creates Mr. Fusion from the Back to the Future episodes, and then we don't have to worry about energy anymore, and then we won't have anything to fight about.
So you think we're going to be, if we do fight, we're going to be fighting over those finite resources. You and I might be in a battle over a glass of water.
Water's the next big one, right?
Okay, I don't know.
So I am going to have to sort of be the dismal economist here and say I don't think it's possible. And I say that I like the idea that we could have periods of world peace. I like that very much. I don't think it's possible because when we have a world full of actors with scarce resources pursuing self-interest in a world with things like externalities, where some of my actions that are going to help me are going to have potential negative benefits for others, we're always going to end up with situations with considerable conflict. And that conflict, can be small interpersonal situations or can be large-scale, nation-state level conflicts. And maybe it's super pessimistic of me, but I don't think that in the long run, especially as we get into a world with more scarce resources, I just don't think it's going to be possible.
Well, when I was growing up, they said the world is getting smaller. We'll communicate. We have the internet. It's a small world after all. Do you want to hum that in the background while I continue? It's a small world. Maybe that is a panacea. I'd like to think that we could communicate better, and as a result, we get to know each other better. And I know for sure, if somebody was my neighbor, I wouldn't want to go to war with them.
Mm.
I did have a brief stint as an international studies major in undergrad, and one of the things that was very appealing to me that was very similar to that was the idea that as our economies become more intertwined, it's much more, sort of detrimental for us to go to war with other countries. And this is sort of what we've been trying to do with North Korea, right? We cut off all of their economic resources. We try to hinder them in those ways so that they'll sort of play nice. And so far it hasn't worked as well as we'd like. So that makes me think that type of hypothesis is not as likely to bear out as I had originally hoped. But I do find it a very appealing idea that as we become more interconnected, whether that's through being able to put a face with a country, with a name, with what have you, or whether it's through just the fact that our economy is so global that we won't be able to treat each other in bad ways in the future.
Economic sanctions, but what about moral sanctions?
Well, morality is about the way things should be, not necessarily about the way they are. But one idea that you see in various forms, and I think actually has something to it, is there's nothing more effective in bringing a fractious group of people or different groups of people together than an external enemy. So maybe the way to achieve world peace is for us to be threatened by some hostile alien force, and that'll bring our world together, and we'll have our Independence Day.
Well, I like to think puppy dogs and toddlers are really good too.
And cat videos.
I think hug a puppy is probably the answer to this question, and until then we'll have more questions ahead. But first, a commercial break.
Where can I get a degree that will give me a theoretical knowledge but help me to apply it?
That the curriculum is different from most of the other colleges on campus.
It's all hands-on. I get to do a lot of lab work. I get to work with stuff. I get to make things.
You're always working with your hands and you're actually doing the stuff instead of sitting in a classroom just hearing about all of it.
You get to know professors and other staff on an individual level.
Willing to do anything they can to help you succeed.
One-on-one learning experiences focus on problem solving, how to learn, how to think.
Actually having clients and actually working with them.
My internship was with Apparatus Infrastructure Services.
Internship with Procter & Gamble.
I'm doing an internship this summer at Indiana Farm Bureau Insurance.
When I went to my internship, and it was so easy to apply what I'd learned in class.
I'm in my capstone project. It's kind of like a senior design. End of the year, I'm graduating. Let's see what I can do with all of the things that I've learned.
Extremely diverse.
It's a very global and diverse environment.
We're in smaller classes. We get to work on our own projects very often.
Finding this team, this perfect team.
I've really enjoyed learning a lot more about proper persuasive techniques.
I've gained so many leadership skills.
I've become really good at actually giving oral presentations now.
And I've really sort of come out of my shell.
I can utilize both of these majors and get well-rounded in these areas.
If you're thinking about coming to Purdue Polytechnic, do it.
Purdue has so many opportunities for you.
You're going to grow not only just by your academics and your skills, but you're going to grow as a person.
I want to be that person that inspires a child to go in technology.
You just have so many opportunities here that you're not going to find anywhere else.
Welcome back. We only have 2 more questions left, so let's do one more.
Following the tragedy after the Las Vegas shooting, what are things that you think our country needs to do going forward to prevent things like this happening again?
Wow. Dan.
I'll start with the obvious answer. Better gun control laws, especially on the sorts of weapons that can take out so many people in so short of a time. That just seems to be the one clear variable in this situation.
So I'm actually a crime economist. I probably should have mentioned that sooner. So I'm actually someone who does study gun violence in general. Although most gun violence in the United States is actually not these types of events, and in fact, these sort of large-scale mass shootings, as well as the police-induced violent type issues are actually a very small portion of gun violence in the United States. But I think that many of the things that we could do to negate the casualties in these large-scale situations aren't going to hurt us when it comes to trying to deal with our gun problems in general. In fact, something like 60% of gun deaths in the United States are actually suicides. And so taking smart measures to keep guns out of the hands of people who are unstable is clearly something that will help us on both fronts. If someone's mentally unstable and they have lots of access to weapons, they're more likely to be able to hurt themselves and others. So I'm definitely with you in favor of thinking about who do we allow to have weapons as far as how they'll be able to use them, and then thinking about how do we reduce the number of casualties. And obviously things like assault rifles are a big part of that. Yeah.
I guess the impact here is, as you mentioned, Jillian, if 60% of the gun violence deaths are suicides, that adds up. That's a big number.
It's a very large number.
But the impact, of course, of one event perpetrated by somebody else doesn't have those numbers, and yet I'm stunned, I'm astounded, and I'm wondering if human beings are essentially evil.
That's a philosopher.
Yeah, this is a great question on whether or not human beings are essentially evil. I think human beings are essentially mixed. I think a lot of times human beings are the product of their environments and the environments that we create for ourselves, right? So humans are extremely social creatures, and we're creatures that live in institutions that we build and that shape our behaviors and even the range of possibilities we have. So the more I think about the Las Vegas thing and just the whole thorny tangle of issues, the more I come back to wondering just like, why is it so hard to get our institutions to respond to these sorts of horrible things? I mean, we had Sandy Hook a couple years ago where children were taken out, and even that wasn't enough to get institutional change. So I mean, that's what I keep coming back to, like, just why is it so hard to get the apparatus that we've built ourselves to live in to move, given that it seems like, I don't have the numbers at my fingertips, but there certainly seems to be an outcry every time something like this happens. And it should just be unacceptable that this sort of thing keeps happening.
Dan, there does seem to be an outcry, but it's like there's an outcry, and then we go on to our next tragedy as if, here's a new show, and that one settles down, and I don't know. Do you know?
I don't know. Although it doesn't seem like our current sort of congressional situation is particularly, I guess, sort of well equipped to get anything done. Not much has happened in the last couple of years because there's sort of this epic level of gridlock that we haven't seen before in Congress. So any type of bipartisanship is hard to find, and I think that to deal with something that is so entrenched in American society like gun rights, it really is going to have to be a bipartisan effort. And so I think that, at least in my mind, I think I would consider Sandy Hook to be in this era of modern gridlock. And so some of these more, so was the Pulse nightclub. These sort of large recent ones that we're all thinking of right now are all in our modern gridlock era. And so I think maybe I'll say something optimistic for the first time tonight. And right, yeah, finally. The Supreme Court is going to talk about gerrymandering soon.
I was just going to bring this up.
And maybe this is our chance to sort of bring some bipartisanship back into Congress and actually affect change.
It seems like such a wonky thing to say in response to the humanity of the Las Vegas shooting, that what we need to do is fix this way that we draw districts and the way there's so much distance between the abstraction there and just the viscerality of this other thing.
Yeah.
But I think that's right. I think it's going to take a systemic institutional level change rather than just more hand-wringing and more thoughts and prayers.
Because the underlying assumption here is that we must rely on our institutions, including the federal government, to come up with a fix, if you will. And I know you can't legislate morality, and I'm getting to the point where, though I'm a pessimistic optimist, I'm thinking, I'm not sure our institutions are the answer to any of this.
I'm trying to think of some sort of non-institutional solution to this problem. And I'm not sure that I have one.
Right.
But I did hear some really great stand-up one time when they suggested that you could make bullets really expensive, but that would have to be a tax.
Chris Rock.
Or Chris Rock. I think it might be Chris Rock. And I've always as someone who teaches taxes and thinks about taxes a lot, that's something that's very much appealed to me, in that we do tax a lot of things to impact people's consumption of them or usage of them. So we could think about cigarette taxes. The idea is just simply to keep people from smoking cigarettes. And so when I first heard that, I thought, wow, what a great example of this type of taxation that economists sort of love. We think it's very interesting, and the way that it impacts people's behavior in such specific ways, but non-institutional.
But I just want to sort of add to that. So it's something that I've been thinking about a lot recently, is the fact that institutions can take a whole bunch of different forms, right? So there can be these formal institutions like the federal government, or clubs where you have to sign up and pay your dues and everything. But our entire life is sort of shaped by less formal institutions and social norms, which aren't explicit laws. And I think if we could understand how those influence us, and then how we might shift those such that we could have change maybe percolate up to the formal institutions.
Give me a less formal, because maybe we can work something out here. What is a less formal institution that might have some impact?
So less formal institution can just be things like activist groups that, hacktivism is something that's been happening a lot these days. From one point of view, even the norms of morality are an informal institution. So if you think about just the general attitudes and the general level of acceptance of same-sex marriage or just homosexuality in our culture over the last couple of decades, there's been a very clear shift on that. Finally, there was formal change when the Supreme Court made that landmark decision, but the attitudes had been shifting for a long time beforehand, and that was in the face of a lot of people doing activist work and will and grace, changing attitudes by filling our public arena with images which normalized exactly that sort of thing.
And to that point, we've almost had the opposite when it comes to guns and the military use of guns in our society through, and I'm not one to typically talk about how, we have so much violence in video games and movies and things, but we really do, and it's something that is very normal to us now. I mean, I've even played Halo, and I'm so bad at video games, right? So this idea that, we've all sort of held an assault rifle through a screen at some point, right, is kind of a scary thought in that way, and that it's almost normalized that rather than sort of peaceful existence.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm not sure we've solved this, but wow, this is some heavy questions from our students. How about something like, what's your favorite kind of pizza? Maybe that'll be coming up. We've got one question left. Back after this commercial.
I was only walking through your neighborhood, saw you out on honey in the cold. I stood anywhere I go, there you are. Anywhere I go, there you are. I've been getting used to waking up with you. I've been getting used to waking up here. Anywhere I go, there you are. There you are. There you are. There you are. You're the fire and the flood, and I always feel you in my blood. Everything is fine.
Welcome back. We've got one more question from our sagacious, insightful Purdue students, which of course are all of them. Let's find out what it is.
What would you spend the money on if you won the lottery?
Oh, now that's a good question. Personally, I just give it all to Purdue. But what would you do? As an economist, is that wrong for me to do that?
No, I mean, my opinion as an economist is you should do whatever makes you happy with it. And that's, getting rid of it is probably not a bad idea. And I say that because a lot of people who have won the lottery and gone on to have all these funds, they end up getting into a lot of debt and their families come after them for money. So sort of unloading it quickly is probably not a bad idea. The one thing I would say is you should definitely keep it a secret. In Indiana, you have the option of not coming forward as the winner, and I would say 100% you should do that.
Yeah, well, keeping it a secret would be difficult. Now, from the philosopher's perspective, most philosophers, of course, wear togas and have no physical financial needs.
Right.
So what are you saying?
What would I do with the money? So first of all, I didn't know you could keep it secret. I would definitely do that.
Okay.
Second of all, I think I would probably take it all in one lump sum and just put it in the bank. I don't think I would change my life, actually. I think I would continue teaching and doing all that because it's a pretty good gig. I may buy myself out of more teaching semesters. But I would buy a cabin in my favorite place on earth, which is in this town in Costa Rica, and I would surf at least 6 months every year and live very simply with a lot of books.
With a lot of books.
With a lot of books. But so the best things in life aren't really things, they're sort of experiences. And we know this, if you want to be happy with money, use your money to buy by experiences, not necessarily a really nice couch or a really nice car. But I would fly all of my friends down to Costa Rica so that they could surf with me and we could drink cocktails and watch the sunset over the Pacific.
Wow.
Can we be friends now?
Yes.
That's great.
You like the scenario? What are you going to do with the money? You've got to have an experience now.
Well, actually, I was thinking vacation home also, but not in a beach kind of scenario. I was thinking more a place in the mountains. So I'm a rock climber, not a surfer, but the idea of having a place where I can sort of have a base camp to climb and, not sure where I would want it. The closest to here is Kentucky. So if I continue to work at Purdue post winning the lottery, depends on how big the jackpot is, right? That would be nice to have one in Kentucky because it's close, but if I want a really big jackpot, maybe that would be out somewhere in Colorado or Utah.
I understand that my winning the lottery today is about as likely as if I'm hit by a lightning bolt coming through this studio. So I'm not going to spend my money ahead of time. But I think that's why.
It's so fun to think about what you would do. I mean, so there's some things which just go without saying, right? Like I would take care of my parents and I would make sure my family was all well off, at least my immediate nuclear family, so it doesn't bleed out forever.
Suddenly you've got a big family.
Yeah.
Everybody's your family. Yeah, that's
right.
the law of economics. Give us a good law of economics to go by for this. I mean.
Oh, wow. I'm not going to go with an economics lesson. I'm going to go with one from a great philosopher instead.
Okay.
No money, no problems is
Oh.
what I'm going to say. So,
am I quoting some book? I thought it was like the love of money is the root of all happiness. Am I getting that wrong? Or?
No,
maybe
totally
one
right.
word. But
One word. Okay. Well, in terms of the lottery, the thing that gets me is that it goes for a good cause. They always say. When I was living in South Carolina, education lottery, all your money goes to education.
A lot of states do that, yeah.
But that doesn't dupe me. I don't buy that many lottery tickets. How many did you buy this week?
I've never purchased a lottery ticket.
Never in your life. Yeah. Okay, well, how about the scratch-offs?
I've played a lot of poker. Does that
Poker,
count?
well, are you a gambling type? Because you have probably better chances of bilking your friends out of money than winning the lottery. So, you're not going to go for it? You're not going to win.
Are we up on a high jackpot? I had no idea.
I don't know what we're up on here.
I do love a good scratch-off. My family, we give them to each other in our Christmas stockings.
Oh, and has anybody ever gotten a single dime out of that?
Not enough to recoup the amount spent on said scratchies.
All right. Then just next time give stockings or something, like a muffler or something that's
well, I think it comes down to the
practical.
experience. It's fun. Everybody enjoys sitting around and scratching them off together, so on some level it's kind of worth it.
I suppose it is. You can take a few bucks and just go wild. Where's this place now? Put this address down here. We're all going down
it's
to
my secret favorite
Costa
place on
Rica
Earth, yeah.
for a lottery binge. I'm not sure why a student asked me that question. Maybe there are some students out there who are thinking, I really don't need to graduate. I think I'm about due for the lottery. But I would say, I have advice to them, stay in school, just in case.
Sounds like good advice to me.
And bask in the sagacity of your professors, who will tell you this about the lottery.
Don't do drugs?
No, that's another. That's probably another question coming up here, but that's also truly a good idea. So I would think that if I won the lottery, I might start my own university. Not that Purdue isn't great, okay? But let's face it, John's University. I mean, come on. I'm going to John's University. Ellerbach's.
Is it a plumber school? John's University?
Oh, hey.
Oh, plumber school. Oh, yeah. Richard Nixon Department of John's University. Well, okay. So we're thanking these professors for more information about our show. There's more information about our show on Facebook. And so check out YouTube. And we thank you very much for tuning in and learning about all the truths, because as professors, we know all the answers. And
wait, we do?
We'll see you after fall break.